Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layout, and today I am back with another layout using Bella Boulevard Let's Scrapbook. I also pulled out my Scrapbook Generation Whole Picture Volume 2, and I'm going to be using sketch number 20. When I first got this collection, I saw this desk in the embellishment pieces, and I immediately thought that I need to scrapbook the very first scrapbook table that I had. These photos were taken with my large camera, so they're actually true 4x6 photos, and I'm going to get a total of 8 photos on this layout. So there's not a whole lot of room for embellishments, but I wanted to really showcase my scrapbook table. This scrapbook table is definitely a DIY, which my mom is amazing at. She comes up with these ideas of putting things together, and they usually tend to be very economical and then also work really well for the space that we had. So the first paper that I pulled out was Doodlebug. Doodlebug and Bella Boulevard coordinate really well together. So I pulled out the lilac in the Swiss dots. I then pulled out a pattern paper with the cameras on it, as well as one that has all the tools, and then also one that has scissors. I ended up taking away the camera paper because I felt like it was too dark. The other two pieces of paper, the one with all the tools on it and the one with the scissors, had the white background. And so I decided to stick with those two as my main pieces and then bring in just some solid or tone on tone colors. So I start out with that green paper on the left, and I actually end up removing that as well. I do end up using this heart paper. A majority of the paper I had already cut into, and it seemed like I had cut the paper in the wrong direction, so I did end up using a lot of scraps. For this yellow piece on the right hand side, I didn't want the actual gingham, so I cut it just enough so that it has the tone on tone yellow pieces. And then I do ink up all of my edges in a Concord Orchid, I think is what it's called. And I also pulled out a 1/4 inch strip in the stripe to bring all of the colors in. And then that is it for my pattern paper. I don't have a lot of pattern paper on it because this layout is really photo heavy. This was the first place that I moved into where I had a dedicated scrap space. I started scrapbooking in 2004 when I was in college. I then moved into a studio apartment. It was my very first apartment. And then we moved into a 1 bedroom apartment, and I kind of took over the dining room there, but I had to pack up all the stuff on a regular basis to actually eat dinner there when I wasn't scrapbooking. And then when my ex and I moved into this place, that was one of the things that I had to have. I told him that I had to have a dedicated space for my scrapbooking. So this was a 2 bedroom house that we rented, and the garage had been converted. So he had taken over the garage as like a man cave, and then I had the second bedroom, which we did have a bed over in the corner so that when people came over, it was kind of a guest space, but it was really my scrap room. So when I was talking to my mom and telling her what I wanted, I told her I wanted a really long space. And we did a lot of research in trying to find something. And we actually ended up at Lowe's or Home Depot, and we purchased a kitchen countertop. And then we decided to head over to Michael's, and we picked up these white cubes, and I already had a file cabinet. So we ended up taking some 2x4s to put on top of the file cabinet, and that made them level with the 12x12 cubes that we used on the other side. And then we also purchased some cheap bookshelves from Walmart to put in the back as a support. And I will tell you, the amount of space that I had in this contained area was so much. I didn't even have a ton of scrapbooking supplies back then. So I was able to store the books that I was reading, my high school yearbooks, and I had this table for a super long time. It moved with me on several moves, and eventually I decided that I wanted more of a rectangle space. And I will tell you guys now that I still use the white cubes that you see in this layout, as well as the file cabinet, as the legs of my desk. And currently, my desk is actually a door. I don't think I've ever shown it on camera, but the pink mat is there specifically for a reason, and I don't ever lift it up on camera because the hole for the door handle is right underneath my pink mat. But it works for me. I'm all about making sure that I can have a space that is functional, and that's really what matters to me. I don't really care what it looks like. I can cover things up like door holes if need be with mats, and it works. So I wanted to document that in this layout where I was able to showcase the progression of us putting all these pieces together. And then over on the far left is the final product of my very first scrapbook table. Of course, I had to do some stitching since I didn't have a lot of pattern paper. I basically just did a straight stitch on the pattern paper. I did a couple of them on the purple pattern paper, and then I do end up putting a line on both of the busier pattern papers. I end up with tone on tone purple on the purple paper, and then I end up using a green on the paper that has all of the supplies on it, and a bright pink on the paper that has all the scissors on it. And of course I go off camera to do my stitching, and I slow it down quite a bit here to show you all the stitching that I did. This was really a straight back stitch. There wasn't much to it, but I felt like it added just enough detail to the layout. I did forget to do one stitch in the bottom of it, and that always drives me crazy. So I had to pull out a tiny piece and just stitch a single stitch in the bottom of this layout, because if I had not done it, it would have driven me crazy. So I did all that work of pulling out the string, separating the string, using the threaders to thread the needle to make one single stitch on this layout. Have you guys ever done anything like that, where it's something super small, but it takes a lot of effort, but you know that if you left it, it would drive you crazy? So let me know in the comments below if you've ever done anything like that. I did put the two photos over on the left and on the right up on Fun Foam. I do add those down with liquid adhesive, and I put a stamping block on top of it to add some weight to it while it dries. That way it doesn't bow my paper. And then I get to embellish the layout. And like I said, this desk here was the piece that inspired this layout. So I knew that I had to have this on my layout. Once I got it down, I was like, I don't like the background. I didn't like that the strips were showing through behind the desk. So I just pulled out this white piece of cardstock and added it behind the desk. And you can see the line in the area where I added the white cardstock, but it doesn't really bother me. It kind of reminds me of like maybe a cubicle or some type of desk where you actually do have a backing. And I'm perfectly fine with that line there, because I would rather have that line than have these strips of paper behind it. And then I'm looking through trying to find some other embellishments, and I find this word scrapbook, and I was like, yep, that's perfect. I'm going to use that for my title. I was trying to find something else to work with my title, but I couldn't find anything else in all of the embellishment pieces that came with this collection. There's a ton of embellishment pieces. I love Bella Boulevard and Doodlebug because they include so many embellishments, and I just love being able to choose all kinds of different embellishments for my layouts. I tried that scallop, but it was really bright. That's the chipboard pieces, and I haven't been able to use a whole lot of those. I then pulled out the sticker sheet, and I am enjoying the fact that Bella Boulevard has included an alphabet. I know that a lot of companies have gotten away from the alphabets, but I really enjoy having an alphabet. I really wish that the companies would bring back the alphabets as well as the little tiny stickers, because those tile stickers are the best. I know this is just black, and I probably could have used any black letters, but it's just nice to have it already contained in the collection kit that I am using. So I do put the word "my first table" down flat to the layout, and I do use the scrapbook.com foam adhesive to pop up the word scrapbook. And it took me a while to figure out how to get the word "my first" down. I cut a lot of that out for you guys. Because of the strips, it was laying on multiple strips, and so it was making it a little difficult. But I do eventually get it all down. And of course, had to dot my I. I then found this embellishment piece that says "I love to scrap," which I thought was perfect for the cluster in the upper right hand side. I then pulled out the puffy stickers, and I added a red heart over to my title, as well as a pink flower over on the upper right. Then pulled out the enamel shapes and added a pinwheel in all three of the clusters, as well as some tiny hearts. And then I found this Bella Pop, which was the same as the embellishment piece that I was going to add down. And so I thought, why not add the Bella Pop instead? So I do pull up that embellishment piece and add the Bella Pop down. And I like that it has that dimension there. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. If you want to discuss this layout more, remember that I do have a Facebook group and you can join it in the link below, and I will post it there and we go over and discuss all the things about this layout so we can discuss topics about your first scrapbook table or area. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.